Warning, spoilies ahead. Steven Dorff is like a professional cigarette smoker for like movies in general. Like he knows how to smoke a cigarette really cool. Like, you know, you need lessons on how to smoke a cigarette for a movie. Talk to Steven Dorff.
They're not even gonna look for somebody else. They're going for him.
Yeah. It's gonna be this. Steven Dorff, best smoker in Hollywood.
Don't even try and smoke around him.
You're gonna embarrass yourself if you try to smoke around him.
He'll just smack the cigarette.
Yeah. Nice try.
I'm a smoker.
Daywalker. The starting it always is the dumbest part. Hi, welcome to Two Guys, One Film. I am Dylan.
And I'm Dane. And this episode, we watched the 1977 film House. House. It was... Alright, so instead of butchering these names, Dylan here had a fantastic idea of just putting them on screen, and you guys can read them, and, maybe sound that out in your heads because...
Yeah, because we're going to embarrass ourselves as the dumb American guys that we are. I don't want to butcher your names. That's really disrespectful. So here's the names, read them. And now let's start the show.
Synopsis, I guess. Schoolgirl wants to hang out with her dad. And then, was he supposed to go with them, or were they going to go somewhere else? But then, he gets a new woman, and then is, really forceful about going, hey, man, this is going to be your mom.
So it's summer vacation. Gorgeous was supposed to go somewhere with her dad, but then her dad's like, hey, meet this new lady when I was gone. This is going to be your mom. And she's like, no, fuck you. I know it's been 8 years since my mom's dead, but fuck you. So then she goes where her friends were going to go to some, cabin, which is their teacher's sister's cabin. Then he's like, oh, she's having a baby.
Yeah.
And then
so they can't do that.
Bails on her dad, and so she's like, let's go to my aunt's place. And then it just goes whoa.
But I mean, it's already whoa before that. I mean, the whole her intro and stuff, just everything about her life just is it's like a fever dream.
What I love, I instantly fell in love with this movie because of the transitions between scenes. There's the beginning, and they're just taking photos in the lab, and it's looking like a witch and everything. And then there's that square border around it, and then she hops down and it goes away. And then there was another transition where when she's throwing that scarf, that part of the window shows the scarf falling down, and then it starts again, and there's times where she goes through the door. This fucking transition in this movie.
That transition there, I think I know it's senior where she's walking toward her, and then the scarf is flying, and it does that quick cut of her doing the same motion, but she's already in that one spot.
Yeah, it was.
But
the editing in this movie,
right at the beginning, when they're all talking, it's almost overwhelming. Because
they're all talking at once.
There's dialogue, there's background noise, and there's music going on, and you're just holy shit. And then I kind of thought I was what would be the artistic direction this would be, and the only thing I could think of was as a kid you're just bombarded with everything, but it's not
But you're able to focus.
It wasn't overwhelming in the sense that wow, there's so much going on. It didn't feel like overwhelming in a bad way.
Yeah, it just felt realistic in a way of just oh, hey, this is what the world sounds like. A bunch of teenage girls are all trying to talk over each other. You got fucking bells and whistles going on, then you got weird 70s music playing over it, and then just
That was what the 70s was like. There's always a backtrack of music.
I really loved the focus thing that they would do, that old silent film thing where it's the circle and thing, and it would go, and it would just go back out. It was so I don't know. I feel like Quentin Tarantino ripped this off quite a bit. Like,
Or
oh,
the
I want to
part
make movies like that.
where she's telling the story. But like I love that too because it's like they can see the story because they
Yeah, and
comment
it
on
was like,
it.
yeah, like, oh, he's so handsome, or like, oh, that looks delicious.
Yeah,
So like, those are all like nicknames they give each other, right?
I would
Because like
assume
the
so.
aunt says something like that, like the names, like, oh, the names you guys give each other.
Yeah. Oh, because of that one girl, Mac.
Yeah, and there's like, so gorgeous, Mac, sweet, professor, kung fu,
Fantasy.
fantasy, and melody.
Yeah.
And Melody, like, she's holding the guitar at the beginning. So, like, oh, that's why they call her Melody. And then you find out later she can play piano. But, like,
Professor's a smart one.
she wears glasses.
Like
Max, the one that's always hungry. She's just eating all the
they're
time.
like brutally like mean about her weight, even though she's like,
she,
I'm like, I don't. She looks pretty much the same as you guys.
she just doesn't even give a shit, too. She's like, oh, I'm always so hungry.
You're always so fat. Are you trying to get more
Yeah.
fat? Boy, you're
Yeah.
fat.
Oh, but I'm hungry. Like, it's just like like a typical teenage girl's, like, just like being brutal to each other, but still like super good friends. You know, they're just like, just having a good time. The teacher that like Fantasy's in love with,
Yeah.
like the big fucking sideburns and like the weird hat and everything, and his dune buggy that he's like gonna drive or something. I don't
I
know.
like all their idea of like men being men were like them going off to war and shit.
Yeah, like that was when men were real, you know,
I'm
and
like,
manly.
yeah, but I mean, he got drafted.
Yeah, and that was so like there. I thought they were gonna like play on that, like maybe that's why the aunt hated her mom is because like when the aunt was saying goodbye to her like future husband, like that gorgeous's mom comes running in and she like looks scared and embarrassed and runs away. So like I don't know if that was like a secret love between like gorgeous's mom and that guy. And so like I thought it was like, oh, maybe that's why her aunt like, you know, hates her. But I think her aunt just becomes jealous because like, you know, he like dies in the war and like the way the guy gets shot in the plane and he's just like sitting in the back while it's like
I
going
know,
down.
like,
Just, like
doesn't he like open the cockpit too, and he's just like
the guy
sitting
does,
there?
and the guy gets shot, and then yeah, like the guy just like is accepting his fate or something, and it's just like,
Yeah, and just crashes, I guess. But it's yeah, that. um,
but then yeah, like she gets married and her aunt looks like all sad and jealous, and she's holding Blanche the cat, you know,
the like witch cat.
because any cat can open a door, but only a witch cat can close the door.
Yeah, I like when you see that, and then the door's like shoot.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
I love how every picture of the sky and every almost every background was like painted like a fake painting. It made it like seem more surreal and like a dream because like there's times where like the camera's moving and like the background moves like different than the sky and stuff like
It
that, and
fucking
like
faked me out like a couple times. I was like,
yeah.
oh damn. I'm like, okay, and then they'd move, and it was a backdrop. I'm like, oh my god, again. I'm like, damn, got me again. Kept
And
thinking,
the funniest one I like was that when they get to her aunt's house, that the bus stop is also like a
yeah,
small matte painting. So like you see it down there, and then they're standing in front of it, and it looks like the sky behind them. And I was like, it's just fucking brilliant. Like everything's a matte painting as a background. It makes it seem more like a dream. I like when they're showing the teacher like running late. There was the shop that was just shoes maker. And it was just the two people like working
oh
on
yeah.
shoes. And then
But
that
like
weird
jamming
like
to the music of like
yeah,
wherever that music was coming from.
and then like random American that comes out and he looks like a fucking hippie. And then that like crazy stop motion animation
The
thing.
bucket thing. Where
Yeah,
the
the
guy
bucket
falls on
thing.
that bucket and he like goes around that car. I loved that.
He's like sliding up and down, and then it's like stuck on him, and he has to go to the hospital. And there's that kid like
Yeah, just like
smacking it
banging
with a
on
stick.
it.
And that's why he's late. And then these girls just go to a fucking train. They get on a train,
Yeah.
and then are on a bus.
And that was a cool scene too. Like
Oh my god, yes! Like
the
that,
train stuff. Like
dude. When like the background, it like
that's
well,
what
it
she
turned
was
into
telling the
animated.
story, wasn't it?
Like it first turned like to animation because the kid's reading the book, and it transitions to like that animated train and then the background.
Yeah, and they're like,
And then
"Oh,
when she starts,
rainbow."
yeah, and then when she starts telling the story, that background shows back up and it pans out and they're just like them sitting there. And I was like, oh God, that's so fucking good. Like, God
Like
damn.
I'm when the bomb goes off in that little thing, and she's
Yeah.
all like, "Oh,
Ooh.
it's like cotton candy." I'm like, "Wow."
Yep.
Gotta make light of the situation somehow, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh,
I'm like,
millions of people
oh,
were killed. That looks like cotton candy.
just like
She's like the Augustus Gloop, you know?
yeah,
Let me in, I'm starving. Yeah, that train scene was so fucking good. And then like I like how it just they're on the train and then suddenly they're on the bus.
yeah,
And it's just like nothing. And then the when they're walking around looking for the house, there's like that part where it's like the landscape and there's that tree and they just like appear from behind the tree like it looks like it's like a sudden cut and suddenly they like come out of it. And later on when the teacher comes out of it with the thing, I was like, that's fucking creepy looking. I like that. And then the watermelon guy.
oh God, just like behind
Like,
that watermelon too,
and like how do they grow? What are they feeding those watermelons? Those things are fucking huge and round,
and
dude.
round. Like, how do you get them so perfect?
Yeah. Watermelon's so big. Ooh wee.
Ooh wee.
Like, god damn. And I like how, because the way he says house, like remember when we
Yeah.
watched the trailer, house, it was him. I was like, hey, he's the one
I
that
was
said
like, oh.
house.
Like, cool.
But
To me, this movie, like, I don't know how much anime you've ever watched, but this felt like a live action, like as close as you could get to like a live action anime because it was so like cartoony in that sense.
yeah, like yeah, I
Because
haven't really
you can
watched.
get away with that kind of stuff in like anime, and
Yeah,
I'm like, but it worked. It worked in this, and I'm like, God, why aren't
yeah.
there more like movies like this? Like every time people know Ryan, maybe know Ryan, then we've talked about Ryan, and he was
He
on the
was on an
show.
episode of our show, and he requested a banger of a movie. Why don't you play in hell? And once again, he requests a banger of a movie with House. So
Son of,
anyway, what are you gonna say?
like Jesus Christ, I lost track of what I was saying, but this to me is like as close as you can get to like a live action like anime. To me, that's what it felt like.
Like, you know what was weird was how clean this footage looked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like the way it looked when I was first watching it, I was like, "There's no way this is from the '70s. This is like a recent movie. They put it on film and they made it look like it's from the
yeah,
'70s." No, it just looks fucking clean. Like it's obviously on film and stuff like that, but I'm like, this just
it's
looks like it's a
crisp. Like
modern day
it's
movie.
yeah,
It's so crisp and like it's like those like retro movies that they try to make like oh it's set in the '70s. I'm just like this is fucking like this looks good and like fucking beautiful. And the effects were fucking dope, dude. Like a lot of blue screen chroma keys in this movie.
it
it was
was
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Cause that after the watermelon guy,
Oh, they go.
they
He shows them the mansion.
they go there.
Her aunt comes out with like in a wheelchair, and Blanche goes up on her lap. The cat.
So like I was just gonna assume that like the cat's name isn't Blanche because like the cat must have would have had to go like because doesn't she get that cat like doesn't it come to her house?
Yeah, the aunt says later on she sent the cat to her because she was like, "Oh, I'm so excited
It's
for
like
you guys to come," and so she's like, in order to get you guys here, I sent the cat for you."
like
or
that would have
whatever.
been like my first thing of like how did
Where'd
you
you get a
get
cat?
like how did you get a cat to come all the way here and also
It's
did
a
you
witch cat.
like did you put the cat on the train? Did you make the cat that poor cat wild? Like which cat or not? That's not very nice.
I
Like
think
no
it just
wonder
showed
that cat
up.
is like
Like,
pissed off and
yeah,
mad.
it's like I had to take a train all the way down here and then all the way back.
You know how
I had
hard
to
that
show
is as a
this.
cat?
I had to show this girl the letter in the fucking mailbox because she just walks by it, even though it's just sticking out.
The cat like I'm just imagining the cat pulled that letter out and she still
Yeah,
walked by it and was like, "Oh my god. Oh
and
my
it just
god."
makes a noise like Jesus Christ. Yeah,
But yeah, so that's kind of messed up. She made the
yeah.
like so I'm wondering.
But and in the end, isn't it just like the cat? Because like, spoiler alert, whatever people.
You know
Like
already.
Gorgeous was saying to her friends like my aunt died a long time ago, but like part of her still stays here waiting for her love to come back, and it's like the cat or something like that, because when they kill the cat in the picture it works, but like to me,
But
because
isn't
the
the cat
cat's eyes
like?
glue green glowed, I don't know how you say that, went green, and then like, everyone else's did that, so like I don't know if the cat was an extension of the ant, like magically, but it's like the cat could have been the lady the whole time too, because it's a witch
Well,
cat.
it might,
So
or the cat is like in control of like a human, like
yeah,
so it can easily more easily do its bidding. But the cat can also like shut doors and stuff, and
yeah,
and
and still
like
runs around being a cat.
and but like also has like some abilities apparently. Because like the mattress scene, is that the cat doing that?
I think so,
Because
because it
like
comes in and shuts the door, and
the
then it
ant
like
kind of
jumps up there.
disappears for a good chunk of like the later half of the movie, and you're only dealing with the cat. So
And
maybe.
yeah, and like the ant does that thing where she like jumps up on the rafters and she like her shoes fly up to her. So it's like
Yeah,
maybe
that's
she's like
right.
a cat. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Girls come home, they go into the ant's home, it's all dusty and cobwebby, and then the chandelier scene, the fucking like
Oh yeah.
chandelier things dropping and Kung Fu like kicking them out of the air and it lands on that like lizard, and
Oh yeah,
Kung Fu
but
was fucking cool, dude. I liked her
right.
kicking ass.
Finally,
But yeah,
like
like
a badass like kung fu person in like a horror
yeah,
movie. That was
yeah.
cool.
She's like kicking chandelier bits away from her friends, and it's like landing in the wall, and like cat's eating a dead lizard after that. I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
I like how there was just a lizard that got like impaled.
Hey, oops.
See, it was little things like that in this movie that were just like it didn't need to be in there. Or
Yeah,
there's like that weird scene that comes out of nowhere, and I'm again jumping around, where I guess that's her dad, the guy that's like traveling to them the whole time, or is that like
that's the teacher.
that's the teacher guy?
Yeah,
There's just that scene of him like eating,
like ramen.
yeah, with that
Yeah,
other like dude, and that's like
and the
really
bear.
quick, and that's it. Yeah,
Like that's what like it's so funny is because like those little bits weren't needed, but they like added to the story so much. It's so
yeah.
weird because it's like this is what's happening, and it's fucking bizarre and surrealistic
Oh,
like
you
this,
forgot
and then
about that
like
guy. This is what he's doing right now. He's
yeah. By the way,
chowing down on noodles
mm, mm,
with these random dudes and a bear.
that was a very cool transition because the three girls that are left, and like fantasy gets up, and then suddenly that guy comes in the shot and he's like eating the noodles, and then it
Yeah.
cuts to like the guy eating the noodles in the thing. I was like, that was fucking terrifying. That was fucking dope, dude. It's like, "Arr!" And then-
Yeah.
but there's really like when they're taking the tour of the house and they go into that room and there's like the skeleton behind the thing and it's got like the one eye. I like how for the rest of the movie when the music's playing, it's like dancing around. It's like anytime you see it, it's still dancing around. But like there was this like beautiful shot that like they get scared and the ant's off screen and she's talking. And while the ant's rolling in, like all the girls are just stopped like they're freeze framed. And the ant's coming in, and then once she comes in, they all like move again. Like I don't know why that was so like a weird small like eerie detail that like they just like all stopped.
Yeah,
But
there's
they weren't like
weird.
frozen because like it didn't look like a freeze frame. But then when the ant comes in, they all start moving again.
Like this is what is this described as, like a horror
It's like a
comedy?
comedy horror,
But it
yeah,
was still like it definitely had like creepy bits to it where I was like, ugh. like
yeah.
like all right, jumping around again. When Mac disappears and like what's her name pulls her head out
Oh,
of the
fantasy,
yeah.
yeah.
Like that part was creepy.
And it grabs her head. Her head starts talking like fantasy, and then like
Like cuz at
bites her
first I was like,
ass.
"Oh, is that a like I thought it was a prop at first. I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
wait." I'm like, "That's cuz like I was like, "Is the mouth moving?" I'm like, "Oh my
yeah.
god, that's
And like
creepy."
it flies around, bites her in the ass, and when it lands back on the well, it just goes like, bah, and like all this like
Yeah.
blood water comes out of it, and it falls back in. I was just like, what the
It's
fuck
like that was
is this?
awesome. And
What
I'm
was
like,
crazy?
I thought to myself, I'm like, yeah, now, have good luck explaining how a floating head just bit your ass.
Yeah, and nobody believes her, like a typical horror movie. But what was surprising to me was how Fantasy's the one that survived the longest. Because like I definitely thought she was gonna be the next to go because the aunt like knew she saw something and she was
Yeah.
fucking with her like at dinner how she like has the eye in her mouth and she kept doing like the like moving
Moving around
around
with
with
it,
her.
yeah.
Like I definitely thought Fantasy was the second one to go, but she's like the last one to go, and it's like that poor fucking girl. But
See, I thought again with like the ant, like it was a little weird that she just kind of disappeared because I thought she was going to end up being more like a monster that was like eating
yeah,
them,
which was
which
kind
I
of
thought
cool.
was
That
cool. Yeah.
they only showed her like eating bits of the hand and like pouring the weird liquid, and then she's like plopping the goldfish in, and like when she takes the bite out of one and plops it in,
Yeah.
like to the tank and everything, like which was a cool like little plant and payoff because later on when Melody's getting eaten by the piano, like Fantasy's behind the fishbowl, and so like when that chaotic shit's going on, all you see is like the goldfish with like barely in the background.
Yeah.
But like one of my other favorite shots was like after um Max gone missing and they put the watermelon in the well, when they pull it back out, it's the actual watermelon. Like they're cleaning up and the ants like dance around the kitchen, and when Professor has her back turned, the ant like goes into the refrigerator backwards. Like that was fucking weird, and then like comes out from like the ceiling and is like watching
Yeah.
him. Like ugh. Poor Fantasy, dude. She gets fucked with
I
like
know. I
so
was like,
much
oh
in this
god! Like when
movie.
she went to the fridge, I was just like, oh my god! And she's
Yep.
like, oh my god, look, oh my god! And she's like,
And it's
they
cool
like
because like
open it to it, and there's like,
anytime anything happens, no one believes Fantasy because like she sees Sweet later on with the mattresses, and she's like, "Everybody come!" And then when they come, it's just like nothing but mattresses. It's like that's
oh, and that
fucking
doll.
girl. Ugh, that creepy doll.
So
What's
it
cool
was
is like
was that
you
doll like
don't.
whispering to her? Like
Yeah, it
I
was like
wouldn't have
Sweet
fucking
saying
gone in there.
Fantasy.
I'm like, screw that.
Also, what was surprising was that Gorgeous was like the second one to go. In a way, because I think the ant takes over her body or whatever. But like
Something.
this was like really cool because it like I know it was early horror movie days and it was like before the final girl, even though like Laurie from Halloween was like the original final girl or whatever. Also Ripley from Alien, but hey, it's different. I really like how like you think like maybe because we've watched so many horror movies in our lives that I was like, oh, she's gonna be the last one alive. Nope, not at all. She's like putting on that lipstick
I
in
thought
the
she was
mirror, and
gonna
then the mirror,
be the last one as well, and then
yeah, that mirror like cracks really cool, and then like the blood's coming out of the mirror, and then it does that fucking dope thing where like her skin's falling off, and then it's just like
yeah, and she's like,
flames. And I
yeah.
was like, holy shit, dude, this
I
is
was like,
fucking
man, this is
sick.
sick. Oh my god, I was doing the same thing when
Yeah.
cool shit like that. I was like, oh my god, this is so
yes.
cool.
Fuck yes. And it's such good graphics and like effects
Yeah.
for being like 77. Like some of them look a little cheesy, but that's what's so fucking cool about it.
Like they
yeah,
worked with what they had,
yeah,
and like did a good job. Like they didn't half-ass it, even though it like they didn't have much to work with back then. Like
yeah,
it's fucking cool because you can see like the passion put into it.
yeah. Like the certain body parts of like Melody floating around, like just like the middle of her body and like a leg, you know, and like that
Yeah.
was fucking cool. Like later on when she's like,
And then yeah,
out
or
of the
like the
piano.
fingers, like on
Yeah,
the like
when they're like, yeah, pressing the keys and playing that song that keeps playing over and over. Like that was fucking cool. I like how the ant puts that like page down, and it's not explained like if that song is like magical or if it does anything. I think it's just a song the ant likes because it's also the music box kind of a thing. But yeah, that was
But I mean,
because
like,
then Sweet's the next one to go, right, with the mattresses,
yeah,
because Melody's playing it and she starts screaming and she's like, oh, it feels like the piano bit me, because it starts like lighting up, which was really
Yeah.
cool effect too, with all the keys lighting up. And then Sweet goes to get, I like how Sweet's cleaning the house too. She's like towel on the floor, just standing all weird and like pushing it around. I was like,
Oh,
"That's
yeah,
pretty
I was like-
effective. That's pretty good."
like however you got to clean. Like if there's dust everywhere, I mean, you're not
Yeah.
gonna do a bad job doing that.
But then she gets eaten by mattresses. I don't know. They don't show or explain that, which was cool. Like just her clothes.
Yeah.
And I like when they go, yeah, something stinks. And like Melody's holding her panties. She's like, yeah, something stinks. And I was like,
It's like, oh.
and she still is like later on when they're still talking there. She's like waving around while she's talking.
You guys smell that?
Yeah, what is that?
Man, what does that smell?
Ugh. Oh, there's a cool thing. I wrote this down. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
When they're first there, it was like after Mac was disappearing, and they were putting makeup on Professor, and like they do that cool line of like, "Oh, you look like so much better without your glasses." Just like, well, I can't see without them. But like the entire time she's doing that, Sweet's looking at her doing this,
Yeah.
and they did that really cool thing of like the camera changing
Yeah.
angles on Professor, so it's like you see what her eye. I was like, that's fucking
First, it took me a
genius, dude.
second, and then I was like, oh. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
do that sometimes, just sitting there looking at
yeah,
shit.
and it's just small details like that of just like random shit like kids would do, you
Yeah.
know. It's just like I don't know, like how you would think of putting that in a movie and being like, all right, cool, let's have her do this, and then let's do the camera of each eye, and I was like, God damn, dude.
Um, let's see. Oh, there's that part where the music does play, and I think melody is playing, and then
Hmm.
like the cat like meows along to it.
Oh no, that was when the ant was eating Mac, and she's like dancing around, and then yeah, the song's playing, and then the cat's on the piano, and it's like
Yeah, it's like
meowing the words too.
yeah, like what
uh,
was funny to me about that scene is like I felt him like any other time I would have seen that I'm like this is so ridiculous, but in
yeah,
this it just
it fit
yeah
perfectly.
it was awesome.
They did a lot of cool shit where like the footage would reverse and would come back and reverse and come back and then move around like that.
Yeah, didn't that happen with like I think the
The
what
when
was it?
Sweet's getting attacked by the mattresses, it happens, and then later on when the teacher does
Yeah,
the bananas, he keeps like pup, 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 and like it
yeah.
just keeps like reversing and then coming back forward. Like
It just reminded me so much of like Tim and Eric stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's like the whoopsie daisy thing, you know.
Yeah,
This is when Melody goes because
yeah,
like that was a really cool scene of like so. Oh yeah, they find Gorgeous again, and she's like, they could see her in the mirror at first, and then not in the room, and then suddenly she's there.
yeah,
And she's like, "Oh, we should call the police." And she goes, "No, I will." And she's like, "The line's dead." And then she does like the, "Oh, I'll go get him. You guys stay here."
yeah.
And that's when the house locks down, which was really cool because like the door won't close or open, and then all the sliding things like and just like
All the
windows like
windows
board
and
up.
stuff. Yeah,
And there was that really cool shot from like far away on the outside of the house, and you see like the windows like light goes out, and I'm like, "Oh fuck yeah, dude!" But I like there was this scene, I have it written down, of like Kung Fu like tries to kick the doors down, which
Mhm.
I totally forgot her like kicking ass with those logs,
Oh
and
yeah.
she's like chopping the logs and they all come flying at her, and she's like fucking just kicking them and shit. Like that
Like
was
if she
dope.
chops that one log in one hit, just like
Yeah.
shing.
And the best is when she lands there, she's like, must be an illusion. And then she pulls her arm out and she catches her like pants or whatever like that. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's fucking cool. But so like they were she's trying to kick the door down and it didn't work. And there's this cool shot where it's just like them walking around and spinning, and they all keep like pointing, like Professor has her finger pointed up and like Kung Fu's following her but doing this.
hmm
And then Melody's doing it too, and like when they do like the grab each other's fingers and they run away, and then when like Fantasy's the last one to go and she just starts pointing while she's running. I don't know why that was fucking hilarious to me. It's like everyone just doing this while they're talking. And then the grabbing each other's like fingers was fucking great. I think that's Melody's the next one to go because she gets eaten by the piano, which
yeah.
that scene was
That was awesome.
such a fucking cool scene.
Like it goes on for a while, and then
I
there's
kind
like
of
the way they like show her inside the piano, and then like behind the like piano strings and stuff. That was
hmm
so cool.
yeah, like the upward shot where it's just like that red light, kind of like what was happening with Gorgeous's face,
Yeah,
and then how like a leg was hanging out and like her arm was there, and like the arm that flew at Fantasy, and like she falls back and breaks the goldfish bowl. But yeah, just like how her head's like floating around after that, and like her middle section, and then
and just like the way the piano would like crush like crunch stuff, just
yeah,
like it was eating stuff, and like the blood just.
I don't know why there's that part where it's like showing her legs like coming out of the piano, and she goes, "That's naughty" or something, whatever she says.
Oh
Like that
yeah,
was fucking funny. I was like,
it's like yeah, it's like her head floating to the side or something, and
yeah,
like she's like halfway in and out of the piano.
yeah. And what's cool is like it kept changing, like different body parts were in and out of the piano.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that was a fucking brutal scene. Yeah, and it like I thought the same thing. I was like, this is going on a very long time. but I didn't get bothered by it. I was like,
Yeah, I
because
was like
usually any other
enjoying
movie
it.
would be like, cut. But
Yeah, she gets eaten by the piano. Good enough. You
hmm
know,
it's like, no, let's show the whole thing.
like it's a gruesome scene. You got eaten by a piano,
Yeah.
but it's an awesome gruesome scene. Like,
Yeah.
how would you get eaten by a piano? Well, you're gonna have to watch House and see,
Yeah.
because that is exactly how
Yep.
you would be devoured by a piano. I mean, like if I had to,
If I had
I
to
don't think
guess
I could say it
in my
better
mind.
myself. Like I don't
Yeah.
think I could film it better than myself at all. I don't think there'll ever be a scene where a piano eats a human being like that again. Like
Nope.
I don't think you could outdo that.
Mario 64 tried and it failed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's when fantasy, kung fu, and no, kung fu and Professor see that. Like, first kung fu comes out and she sees Sweet in the clock and just like her face, and it like
And
the
then like the
blood's coming
blood.
out of it, and then like Professor comes out and then it's like lighting up and a bunch of blood coming out of it. Like, that was fucking
They're
sick.
like, oh,
Yeah.
and then they end up in the living room ish area.
At first, I like how they try to barricade themselves upstairs, and they have like all that shit like blocking the
Oh yeah,
stairway
that's
and
right.
everything. But yeah, that's when Gorgeous's like head comes out of the fucking wall. Like it was like huge, and then like her
Oh
lips were
yeah,
like floating around. Like, yeah.
that was cool. That was another cool scene.
And then like the random eye that was like, talking about like, oh, my aunt died and now she wants to eat you or whatever. There's a reason there's no more young girls in the town.
'Cause she keeps eating them all.
And they find the diary. That's when Gorgeous is in the aunt's wedding dress, because this is the only time the aunt can wear the wedding dress, and she like walks and there's like the diary there.
Yeah.
The professor's like reading it. That was cool.
Did Kung Fu die next, or was it?
Well,
Or
she
was the
went out to
professor?
call. She went out to call the police, and then the phone tries attacking her.
Oh
And
yeah.
she's like fighting the phone, and then she does that cool roundhouse kick where she knocks the front of the phone off. And I was like, oh, sick. And then she like goes outside, and that's when she's fighting the ghost version of Gorgeous. There's like that dope scene where she's
Oh, yeah.
like jumping on the fence and like doing cool backwards flips. And the way she comes back into the living room was just like, the fight scenes with her were so fucking frantic and like hard to watch, but they were so great. And suddenly she comes like flying and rolling back into the living room. She's like there. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, she's the next one to go.
Oh yeah, the lamp.
Yeah, because they're like, it's the cat, Kung Fu,
Oh,
kill
yeah.
the cat. And because it's the one on the wall.
Yeah.
And when she goes to get it, like the lamp, and it's like electrocuting her, and then like it shows that inside of the lamp, like that was a fucking cool scene. And you could see like part of Sweet or a part of Melody, and then like
Yeah.
Max thing, and then yeah, and it's just like her head floating there, like watching everything.
And I was like, oh man, she's gonna die.
Oh, Matt, she's my favorite one.
But then her
And then
legs
just
like
her
still
legs,
kick
like-
the shit out of that cat. And I was like, yes.
Go, still save the day, and then the cat
So at this point, we've got Professor and
fantasy.
Fantasy left. Okay, because I was like, I know Professor dies, and there's still somebody else left.
It's those two, because then the house
Starts like
crumbling,
Is
and
it
then
blood?
that was that dope scene of Gorgeous in front of like the mirror,
Uh-huh.
and she just starts like bleeding all over her body. Like that
Oh, yeah.
was fucking cool. She's like screaming, and just like blood comes like from everywhere. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Where did that come from? That's fucking sick. And then yeah, the house starts breaking apart, and they say it's the cat's blood, and it's just like filling up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're like they're on that like
it's like the little
wooden
part of the
thing in the-
floor
yeah.
door, yeah, like. And then Professor's still trying to read the diary of like, oh, because they're talking about like the teacher's gonna come and save us, and he's like, he
Oh, yeah.
promised me. But earlier on in the movie, there was that really cool scene with like the camera moving side to side from the piano while Melody's playing,
Uh-huh.
and they were like, oh, don't worry, the teacher will be here. And then she has that fantasy about the teacher like on the horse saving her.
Oh yeah.
And like it kept doing that cut at the end of like dit, like coming back to reality, and it was like this at the end. Like I don't know why that fucking cut thing was so cool, because it was like bep, 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 kept coming back. But yeah, like she was talking about like, oh, he promised me, and then it's like a parallel to the guy going off to war
Yeah.
promising, and I was like, oh. But then yeah, her glasses fall into the blood.
And then she ends up in the blood.
Yeah, something grabs her. I'm not sure what that was, because then it comes out of the water and it's wearing
her
professor's
glasses.
glasses.
But
Like
it's
it
like
almost looked like the thing from Star Wars in the trash compactor.
a little
You
bit,
know?
but more mechanical.
Yeah,
Like
like I don't know. It
it
was
was
probably
weird. It
like
was like
a
a lamp. It was like,
yeah, it was probably like an appliance or something. But yeah, and like the dissolving scene, the way she dissolved, that was fucking cool.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that was a cool effect. And just like gets smaller and everything. I was like, whoa, that's fucking cool for 77. Whoa. And then it shows the teacher finally gets to town. And once again, like I thought the teacher was gonna come save, Fantasy, like she was gonna survive.
uh-huh.
And then that's when he runs into the watermelon guy. And the guy's like, "You don't like watermelon?" He's like, "No, what do you like?" He's like, "Bananas." He's like, "Bananas, ah." And the guy turns into a skeleton. And then the teacher starts like freaking out in the car. And then
Oh yeah,
later
that's
on, when the stepmom comes, it's just a pile of bananas with the fucking hat on it.
oh yeah.
'Cause he keeps screaming like, "Bananas, bananas." It turns into fucking bananas. But yeah, Fantasy floats to the stairs and she sees Gorgeous, but then she also sees like the aunt.
Yeah.
And then she sees Gorgeous again. She like very very sad scene of like, "Oh, I just want to be safe." And he's like calls her mom or whatever. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
and then you don't see what happens to her. That was crazy.
Yep.
Because then the stepmom shows up, and I like how like her scarf is always blowing, and like all of her clothes are always blowing, and there was that cool shot where it's like just a car on a stage, and it's just like turns like that, and the camera's
Yeah.
going with it. Like I don't know why that was cool, but her like scarf's always like flowing in the wind.
And then was it Gorgeous like opening up the house?
Yeah, and that scene was like so long too. Like that was so cool.
Yeah, she opens up all the like the doors.
And then like walks over to open all the other ones too.
Yeah, and then they just like sit there and talk.
Yeah, she's like, "Where are your friends?" She's like, "Oh, they're sleeping, but they wake up when they're hungry." And then shakes her hand, and it's only just like fire from the neck, and then just on fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, that's fucking dope."
Like, whoa.
Yeah. The whole scenes too with like her dad on like the patio, you see like the painted background. I like how it was like on the other side of those windows the entire time. And later on too, like when it's the stepmom saying like, "I'm gonna go find her," it'll be like, I need some time to think things over too. But they were always like the camera was always on this side of like the windows that were like all squares.
Oh yeah.
That was
I
so
liked
cool
that
to
too.
me.
I liked how they didn't like seem to really care, like, because it was like they were looking through a window, like that was the point.
Yeah.
Except for the mom, like, was the main focus, and because the dad was kind of skewed by the
Yeah, but there was always like framed people up so perfectly.
it was very intentional, and it was
Yeah.
cool. Like it felt
Because
intentional, and if it wasn't, then nice job
I feel like
accidentally.
And what
But
was great
it
was
felt
like
intentional.
there was a few times that it was like the aunt. She broke the fourth wall like twice.
Yeah.
There was like a time where she'd like look at the camera, and then there was that one after she goes in the fridge and shows up on the rafters, and she like looks at the camera
Yeah.
again. But the craziest one to me was when they find Gorgeous upstairs, and they're going to call the police, and they're coming downstairs, and it's like the camera, and they're all looking like the camera like it's one of them, and then they all leave and go to the phone. So I was like, well, who was the camera then? I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened? I was like, well, who was the point of view from the camera? Like, it's like like you said earlier though, it is like a fever dream of a movie though. Like, it's hard to pay attention to, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, like you said, like, so much is going on at once, but it's
like
not
the
overwhelming.
like the stuff that's like like it I think it is a little overwhelming, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of stuff coming at you at once, but it's, I don't know, I guess it's probably because of the way it's presented. Like it's like it doesn't feel like someone's trying to be all serious about it.
Yeah.
But also not like, but also like it's got a lot of like artistic like feel to it, and like I don't know how to describe it. It's like zero pretentiousness in a movie. Like,
yeah. Like, heavily stylized, but not trying to do it to be cool.
yeah, like, hey, check this out. Like, it's not in your face,
this
the kind of
out.
movie.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
like all, and it's not like the kind of movie that someone would come up to you and be like, "Have you seen House?" it's pretty much a masterpiece. You know, people would be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, have you seen House? It's great. You got to check it
It's
out."
fucking great, dude. Yeah. Like Tarantino would make a movie like this and he'd be like, "Oh, it's so artsy. I tried too hard." And
Yeah,
like
let me break
meanwhile this
down
guy was
like
like, "I'm
what
going to
this
make a fucking
scene.
great film."
Yeah.
And yeah, the beginning of this movie felt like how I felt with the beginning of Why Don't You Play in Hell?
Hmm.
Because that one was the same thing. Like so much dialogue was happening and so much noise, and it took me a minute to get used to how this movie was going to play out.
Hmm.
And then I was like, okay, I got it. And it was the same with this. I'm like, oh, it's another one of these movies. Okay, hang on, I gotta like get myself acclimated to this. And suddenly I'm like, okay, cool, got it.
It's hard to take notes with movies like this.
Oh yeah, I just kind of sat there like, and then like all of my notes are just like 2 words. I'm like, okay, remember Shoemaker. Remember every sky is a painting. Got it. Yeah.
I did that. I took some notes, and then thankfully you said some stuff to help jog my memory, because like I was like, I'll remember this, and I was looking at it, I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? What is this?
I
Again,
don't
I do that
remember
to
this.
myself every time.
Yeah, there's just like I keep remembering so many shots and scenes, and that's like what's beautiful about this movie. Like the one where like um Kung Fu's out there and she's like, I love the countryside, and she like looks over and she's like kind of crying a bit or whatever, and then like goes back to it, and I was like, I don't know what that was, but that was fucking great. Like I liked the weird like comedic like Scooby Doo chemistry between everybody. Like when they're pulling the watermelon out of the well, how they're all like holding each other's waist to like
Yeah.
help pull it out, you know? And meanwhile, just like Kung Fu just pulling on her own, but like, we'll help too. Like it
Yeah.
just had like very cartoony
Yeah.
feel to it sometimes.
Well, that's what I kind of mean by like that whole like anime thing, and the way people would like
Hmm.
react to stuff, and like the watermelon guy,
Yeah.
because like there's shit like that. Like there'll just be like a weird fucking old man character that
Yeah.
acts like that.
Yeah. This might be our shortest episode this season, and in a while.
Well, I mean,
It's kind of a movie to just bounce through, you know?
well, it's hard not to, honestly.
Yeah. It's a movie that it's hard to talk about linear,
Is
and it's one of
linearly
those movies
like literally?
linearly, linearly,
That's
Dennis linearly. Um, it's hard to like talk about it without just like seeing it. You know what I'm saying?
it's off the rails.
Like you
It's
just have to
like,
see
yeah.
it to believe it, to understand what we're talking about. So like, yeah, it's just one of those ones. Like it was a fever dream to watch, and this is a fever dream of an episode to film because this is
It's
our shortest episode to date.
Yeah.
Not to date, but for this past few seasons. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, are you enjoying this? And you would like to see other things such as this? Well, guess what? There is a place for you to go. Dane, tell them where it's at.
Guys, I don't know why I gotta keep explaining this to you, but here we go again. You're gonna head on over to projectnerd.com. That's project-nerd.com. You're gonna find all your nerdy stuff there. You're gonna find us there, your favorites, of course. You're gonna find
Obviously.
all kinds of other comedic things and unboxings and cosplay and nerdy stuff. It's ridiculous. It
It's an
truly is.
overwhelming situation. You're gonna like it, I guarantee it. Go over to Project Nerd, check that out. Let's rate it. I don't know what else to say that we haven't already said. Fucking great cinematography, fucking great sets, fucking great animation and effects, great story. Overall, well done. Fucking, I'm giving it 15 out of 10 white Blanche cats. Or watermelon heads. I don't know. 15 out of 10, folks. You know, the rating system, as you know. Whatever.
And pretty much exactly what Dylan said. And thanks, Ryan. And obviously, this is very much not a movie that, like, this is not a guilty pleasure, you liar.
Yeah, you stupid liar.
This is cool. This is a great,
Yeah.
fun, awesome movie. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. And like Dylan said, it's getting 15 out of 10 witch blanched cats and watermelon heads and whatever you want to throw in there. There's not a rating system that's gonna like do this movie justice because
Yeah.
it's awesome. Go check it out.
Yeah. This episode doesn't do it justice. Once again, can't thank Ryan enough for giving us a banger of a movie. You did it. You knocked it 2 times out of the park, partner. Let's hope you can go for a third.
I think so.
I think so. This is definitely a type of movie what Ryan would see and be like, "Have you guys seen this?"
Yeah, but I mean, when Ryan does it, it's okay. Anybody else do
Yeah.
that though?
It's pretentious if anybody else does it.
Yeah.
But if Ryan's like, "Hey, have you seen this movie?" It's like, "No, I haven't, but I trust you that it's good."
Let's all watch it right this second.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want your thumbtacks in a bag? Yes, I'd like help to my car too. Like,
Is he the gum guy too? You want a piece
Yeah.
of gum?
throw it on the ground.
There you go.
I love that kid.
Yeah.
Have the most horrible tone of voice sometimes that make him sound like an asshole, but he's not.
But he's our asshole.
He's our asshole. Love you, Ryan. Yeah. Don't be a dope. Watch House right now.
You can stream it on some
Fucking-
stuff. It's awesome. Go check it out.
Yeah, it's on HBO if you got HBO Max. I don't know if at the time of this episode airing it's on HBO Max, but who gives a shit?
But
Look it up.
If not, it's
watch
on
the
other
movie.
platforms. You'll find
Yeah.
it.
And there's a reason it's a Criterion movie. I forgot to say that, but it's a Criterion movie for a fucking reason. They don't fuck around with Criterion Collection. I mean, sometimes they do. But this one is well deserved to be in the Criterion Collection. As I hope our show will be eventually in 100 years.
In 100 years, when it's like, when people are like, "What were we missing? I wish these guys were still alive. This sucks."
Yeah. 2 Guys, 1 Film, Criterion Collection. 2 Guys, 1 Film, season 1 through 7, coming to the Criterion Collection near you.
In 100 years.
100 years' time. On that note, hey, this has been 2 Guys, 1 Film. I'm Dylan,
And I'm Dane.
and we'll see you next week.
So next week.
That's a freeze frame.